try and get free advertising. Free advertising. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Such.
And my name is James, and this is the second time we've tried this today.
We had to re-record, but we can do that.
Tell everyone why we re-recorded.
Something happened that blew the fuse. That meant we tried to plug a heater in to keep warm because the studio is so cold.
What do you mean we?
Well, look, were you not cold?
Yeah.
You got more padding than me.
Thanks, boss.
Oh, mate. Your world revolves around 50,000. Mine doesn't.
I'm just going to sink into my chair so no one can see me.
I can't remember my rank last week, but I'm at 7,900 now. I feel like it was around the same, give or take, somewhere between 5 and 10k. I missed Saturday, moving the armband from Haaland to Alvarez, which is a disappointment. But it wasn't a great weekend for me, mate. Only 68 points.
Sorry, I laughed at that.
But I only used
I laughed at that the first time. I can't laugh at it again.
I only used one transfer. So I suppose that's one saving grace. In that I moved Haaland on for Ollie Watkins because I wanted him for captaincy for Friday.
Yeah, perfectly reasonable. Can't really argue that one. Who was your heroes and villains from the week then?
Well, Friday I captained Sonny, but I owned Romero, so obviously captained the wrong person there. Saturday, I still had the armband on Haaland. I realised too late that I couldn't move it on. I would have only moved it to Alvarez, so it wasn't particularly like I'd moved it on to someone that hauled, let's say maybe Palmer or something like that. And then on the Sunday was Salah. I had Saliba, who outscored Salah. I had Shimikas, who outscored Salah. I had Bowen, who outscored Salah.
Yeah, I've all got them
as well.
I had
Watkins, who outscored Salah. Yep. But I did leave the armband on Mo Salah.
Was Salah actually your lowest scoring player on Sunday then?
Yes.
That's great. I mean, to be fair, they've all returned, right?
Yes. Yeah. So 68 with one transfer, which was Haaland to Watkins.
You have a goalkeeper problem.
Sanchez, I didn't even twig that he was my keeper sitting there. So that's why I didn't pick up any points. Because obviously I would have bought Petrovic, wouldn't I? No.
I mean, that's...
I might have, but no, I don't think I would have.
What are you going to do? We've already spoken about this once, so
yeah,
what's your plan?
I mean, look, my issue in upcoming weeks is I've got nobody for Thursday night, and I'd quite like to skip that, if I'm honest with you. That's the Brighton Crystal Palace game. But before we get into that, what happened to your game week? Then we can talk about upcoming plans, captaincy coverage.
I went to Petrovic. As discussed with Ian, I thought that was the plan. He obviously came in at 6.3, although the value was irrelevant from that perspective for me. It wasn't dependent on a value. It was just a call on Sanchez. And once the word had come out that Sanchez and Cucurella were going to have appointments with specialists, that was enough for me to think, yeah, I'm probably all right for three weeks here. And to be honest, it was only really about giving me a secondary cover for the Wolves game next Sunday. And with Sheffield United at home, it's like, right, immediate impact, high probability of a clean sheet. So I went Petrovic. I also, I'd say regret, we don't know yet, but they sold Alvarez for gross on Sunday. So don't regret buying gross, by the way. That was completely the right move for me to take, but it was a choice in terms of selling Alvarez or Haaland. My take was, as someone who's used more transfers than the majority of the engaged players, I knew if I sold him, there was every chance that I was going to want to buy him back. Whereas Alvarez, I was going to say, right, do you know what? You're gone and you're gone. So I was of the opinion, personally, we kind of knew that he wasn't obviously going to play on, or he hadn't played on Saturday.
Yeah.
I was of the opinion at the time of sale that I thought, I bet he would be doing everything in his power to try and get ready for Friday and the Club World Cup final. Now, it appears he's definitely not going to be available for that, and therefore he's going to be a major doubt for anything next week as well, as it stands. Listen, if I knew now that Haaland was going to play against Sheffield United, then I still would have made the same decision, personally, because I wouldn't go back and buy for just the one game in any case. I could see myself, and my thinking was, I'm going to sell him, and I'm going to have to buy him back. And I also would have had the awkwardness, I think, of also not knowing who I'd want to sell.
It's a similar problem that I'm going to be in to get Haaland back.
From the perspective that I'd been in the 3-5-2 and going, Can't sell Salah, captaincy against Newcastle. Can't sell Bowen, captaincy against Brighton. Could sell Son, but want to captain him against probably Brighton and Bournemouth in Tottenham's last 2. Palmer wouldn't have enough money in the bank.
Yep.
Gross, I would still rather keep for a secondary for the West Ham Brighton game. Watkins, you could say expendable, but the one game I'd be losing him for is Burnley at home. And he's probably next best captaincy after Haaland for me on Saturday the 30th. And I wouldn't be able to move a defensive player because of the system. So I'm looking at it and going, I don't even know how I'm getting back. It probably would have been, I'd go, right, sod it, I'm going Alvarez to Haaland. And I'd hate that sort of move.
I understand, because I may end up, other than if Alvarez is benched, I'd hate to do that as a sideways move.
Yeah. So I took the decision to keep Haaland.
I think it was the right choice.
Well, to be honest, we won't know till once we hit the overhaul, we'll know for definitive. At the moment, it probably feels like it's the wrong choice because it's beginning to look like there's every chance he may not be back next week. Like you, so just got 83 this week. That's the bit that's not like you. But like you, captaincy's the same. Familiar story. So Captain Son got Porro, similar to your Romero. Captained Alvarez for nothing, but at least I captained him. Captained Salah when all my other players on Sunday returned better, bar the one player I bought, which was Pascal Gross. So returns for Shimikas, Saliba, Bowen, Watkins. Also had Cole Palmer's 13 on Saturday.
A big difference is Palmer, really, for us.
You've not got
and your goalkeeper. No, I don't know.
So it's the 22 points from the 2 Chelsea players. So have you got no Chelsea?
Levi Colwill.
Okay. You should be all right with him for minutes, I think.
Yeah, that's it. So if we talk about kind of upcoming captaincy coverage for me, my days of concern are obviously the Chelsea Wolves game. I only have one player in Levi Colwill, and also the West Ham Brighton game at the end of the period before overhaul. I only have Jared Bowen at the moment. Now,
but he plays barring
both
injury.
will play barring injury, so I'm not rushed minded to force a transfer to give myself coverage.
Saying Colwill.
But yeah, Colwill.
He's not a certainty. He came off at half-time.
No, but look, we'll know whether he's going to be in that team or not.
True. He came off at half-time last night. Pochettino said after the game that it'll be fine.
Yeah, so let's see what happens.
It doesn't mean to be selected. I mean, they played Gusto at left back for the majority of the second half.
At the moment, I've only got 2 transfers potentially on the cards. One would be Sanchez to Dean Henderson to give me a captaincy coverage for Thursday, and then the 2 additional fixtures, one of them being at home against Brentford. That's fine. It doesn't fill me with that much joy, and I actually think there will be goalkeepers
I think that's the right solution, though.
I think there'll be goalkeepers with 3 fixtures who will outscore Dean Henderson with 4.
But it's the possibility of what it could be because it's 4.
Yeah.
If you think of it this way, if he did keep a clean sheet against Brighton, the chances
it's justified the transfer.
The chances are there'll be saves in there as well.
Yeah.
You could be looking at a 22, 24 straight off the bat, and there's every chance to say the majority of other goalkeepers won't get that across 3 other games. Yeah,
potentially. The only other transfer I've got earmarked, James, is getting Haaland back, because I think I've got decent enough coverage and captaincy coverage for all the rest. So yeah, should I get Dean Henderson? That'll be who I'll captain on Thursday. What about you?
For Thursday, just to add on, because we haven't really covered it in much detail, but me and Suj already did on the failed recording, I do think Henderson's the right solution for you. You can't go still with a Bruggen.
You've
got a goalkeeper problem right in front of you that by picking a player from that game is going to give you the extra game. Now, Sam Johnston obviously could come straight back in, but I don't foresee that. I foresee Henderson staying in the team at the moment, and Johnson might not be fit in any case. For me, captaincy tomorrow night is Gross. And I think that's probably the best solution across the 2 teams in any case, because he has such variety in terms of his ability on how he can pick up points, be it tackles, passing, even shots, attacking, returns. He's capable of the everything. I was listening to the 3 for 1 on the way in, and Luke Williams, who guested, was absolutely right in terms of he's saying a lot of people, including myself, have been kind of slow to get on the idea of Pascal Gross, because I think we've just been blinded for so long. Lewis Dunk.
Yeah, Mitoma maybe with the explosiveness.
When Gross has so many routes to points. Yeah, but Mitoma, you are relying purely on the attacking stuff.
But for a period, I know not recently, he was providing the attacking stuff,
Yes,
so
of
it kind
course.
of didn't become a
Look,
problem.
I very nearly, you might remember a number of weeks ago when Brighton played Sheffield United, when Dunk was out, I had concluded I was going to buy Mitoma rather than Gross even at that point. And Mitoma wasn't in the team and I decided to do something else. Wish I'd bought Gross then.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hindsight.
Cool. So yeah, captaincy, James will cover off. I'm going to be Henderson. Then you're talking about Watkins is the clear and obvious choice for Friday.
Yeah.
I'm so happy looking at Watkins in my team instead of Diaby anymore.
He's in
So happy.
92.5% of the top 1,000 teams. There's a few that I think would be chaining a Brighton player into him on Friday night. Particularly if, say, someone sat with 4 at the back and Dunk got his 5th yellow card on Thursday and you didn't have him, that's where you're going as almost a certainty. And I think the others that don't own him, frankly, are dead. As in, like, they're basically dead teams. Has it averaged 5 transfers left in the top 10?
Is that right?
Someone's probably in there with none, aren't they? So
Saturday, I'm going to be going with Son at home to Everton. I don't mind if anyone needs to go with a Liverpool player at home to Arsenal, like Salah, if you've got or Saliba.
It's Salah. You can captain him in any game, can't you?
Just do it. But I think most will have a Tottenham asset, and I think that Everton home game is the right choice. I don't mind a Trippier against Luton away potentially, but still, Salah at home. Sonny at home. I think that's going to be the most popular on that day.
Yeah, be Sonny for me almost definitely. I have Porro as an alternative, Salah as an alternative. I do think the Newcastle one's quite interesting. I know Kieran Trippier obviously had a difficult night last night, but you'll see the team and there's potential there, isn't there? Oh, no, actually, you don't see the team. It's not the early kickoff, but I think you'll play anyway. He's only played 45 last night and obviously missed last weekend from suspension, so you assume he plays both Luton and the Forest games. I imagine that it will be a solution for people who are uncomfortable. Maybe people who haven't got Son this week might think, well, yeah, I'd rather go Trippier than a Tottenham defender this week if you don't want to go Salah. And because of Everton's run, I kind of agree with that, to be honest. So I think Trippier's an interesting one for people. But I personally, with the ceiling home fixture, yeah, it's Sonny for me.
Chelsea, you're going to go with Cole Palmer. It's the only player you've got. I'm going to go Levi. Oh, sorry, yes, you could go with the goalkeeper. But you would go Palmer, I think, in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Wolves beat Chelsea on Sunday, to be honest. But I think Palmer, yes, for me, as long as he's in the team. If he's not, that was part of the deal with obviously getting Petrovic is the cover for this. Yeah,
I've got Levi Colwill. If he doesn't play, I'm not forcing anything, I don't think. I just don't think it's worth it necessarily.
No, I think probably go with it. But when we do the data, as you'll see, like, it's just the passing tiers are unlikely.
Yeah, understood.
Even in Palace Luton, there's no certainty, but there could be, and that would be enough reason I think to think that's okay for you. You just want to check that you're okay for your captaincy coverage of the other days of the other teams that Chelsea are playing. So I suppose for you, Wednesday the 27th, you're what, Alvarez captain?
Yes.
At Everton. But what would happen if you got there and Colwell's not in the team and Alvarez is not in the team?
Dean Henderson.
Blimey, you would as well.
Dean Henderson.
You would as well. And I wouldn't even hate that. I would probably, obviously, if Haaland's back, then do it.
Yeah.
But if it's not, I would probably say that.
If they're all not in the team, it's just not meant to be my year, James.
This time next year, Rodney, yeah?
Oh, yeah, indeed. We should talk about next midweek, though, because we are recording next week, Wednesday, listeners. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening to the podcast or on the YouTube. Give it the ding-ding on the bell and all that stuff. But let's cover off the Tuesday, Wednesday now, and even the Thursday while we're at it. I will be Salah away at Burnley.
Yeah, he'll be the clear most popular one. That's a 5:30 kickoff. I would have a little bit of concern if Salah was to play 90 tonight against West Ham in the Cup, because you know he's going to play the majority of the game against Arsenal Saturday. So then you're looking at Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, and let's be honest, Burnley's the sort of fixture where there could be rotation. I think the fact that they don't play again until the following Monday, so it's a 6-day break, would suggest that it's probably okay, but it might be one that needs judging on Tuesday, and we go, are we sure?
Yep.
Now, in my case, I probably haven't got enough good alternatives to fight against it. I would probably be with no Newcastle ownership and concerns if Shimikas maybe would get the minutes. It would probably be Ollie Watkins for me at Manchester United. Now, that's not terrible, but that's not the ideal solution. So I think unless I was really confident that Salah wasn't going to start for whatever reason, then yeah, it'd be Mo for me on Tuesday, and I think that would be the same for the majority of people.
And on the Thursday, it would be then
The Wednesday.
Oh, sorry, Wednesday. I'm getting all these days confused. Which will be the 27th. Like we've talked about me. It's Alvarez. Well, Haaland if I buy. If not Alvarez. If not Levi Colwill. If not Dean Henderson. If not, nothing.
Yeah. If not, then yeah, just sign. If you've got nothing, if you buy Henderson, you've got nothing. Just sign out and give up, mate. Haaland, I hope. I suppose. I hope he's just suddenly back in the team and everyone panics. Would you definitely buy him back?
Yeah, looking at the Sheffield United at home, I think over the 2, if he was back, that's a 3 for whatever. It's too risky.
It's a potential 4 for 1, isn't it?
It's
enough, isn't it?
Too risky not to, yeah. So
yeah, it sounds at the moment like he probably won't be. So again, it's going to be the Chelsea guys for me. So Palmer or Petrovic again would be the backup if Palmer's not in the starting 11. And to be honest, home to Palace, that wouldn't bother me so much if I got Petrovic. Almost from the 3 games, if you were saying Palmer wasn't to start one, and I think he probably will start all 3, by the way. I think he's one of the few Chelsea outfield players I'd have a marginal amount of confidence in that. But yeah, Palace at home, with a home fixture be the one I'd be thinking, well, if I've got to go Petrovic captaincy for that one, yeah, that's the one.
Thursday, Saliba for me. I've got Son and Romero, but you're away at Brighton. As much as I do think there'll be chances in your... I'm kind of torn. There'll be chances in your game, as you've alluded to. So Sonny should be in and amongst it, but it's a home tie for Arsenal, and they will definitely have a lot of the possession. So William Saliba starts on 5. The only thing is, like I back West Ham to score in any game. There's only one game we haven't this season, which was Everton. So am I going to just take the safe 5 of Saliba that might be a 10-pointer, or back Sonny, where I do need an attacking return really from him? Yeah. It's a tight call. I'm probably going to go Saliba. And
listen, as Serge already said, we'll record again next Wednesday, and I might feel different by the time it comes around. But I look at these 3 Tottenham games and I think there's a high ceiling from now in those Everton, Brighton and Bournemouth fixtures. So my intention would be Sonny next Thursday, and same with the Bournemouth home game the following Sunday as well. But if he ends up sticking on the left, which I imagine he will do at the moment, if the chances stop coming for him, then that might change my opinion. But almost of all 3 of them games, I'd look at the Brighton one and think, well, the opportunity for him, space-wise and stuff, that's the biggest one, arguably. He's the toughest one on paper, is Brighton away, might be the best one for him.
Interesting. Cool. That's the captaincy covered off, James. Obviously, at the weekend, we had 9 games to talk about, and tiering points and things like that. Anything stand out from them that you think we should be aware of? The other thing is obviously those sneaky little yellow cards, mate.
Yeah, there's a few knocking about.
4-card
which
includes
looming. Christian Romero on 4 yellows.
And that might be it for a lot of people, like a suspension or an injury might open up what your final move or 2 before Overhaul is.
Remember, it's 19th game for all teams. So for Manchester City and Brentford, that would be literally their final game before Overhaul. So if someone got a 5th yellow card there, they'd miss the first game after Overhaul. For anybody else, the suspension will come before Overhaul, basically. Bournemouth and Luton obviously can fall into that category now as well. Only 75 passes for Romero against Nottingham Forest. Might be a little bit lower than what people are expecting. But there's the influence of, obviously, Basuma's red card, who is basically now suspended till February. Ben Davies got 94 passes. Pedro Porro squeaked in 61 completed. Who knows, maybe if we'd have kept 11 on the pitch, he might have got the tier 2 passing himself. There were shots for Son and Kulusevski. Højbjerg is highly likely to play the 3 games in the 6th role for Tottenham. I would suggest in the 2 home games he will probably hit passing tier. Probably not at Brighton, though. He is capable of a tackle tier as well, but I would say that's a no-frills transfer at this stage. Look for something a little bit more imaginative at this stage. Neco Williams, because Nico, the cameraman, doesn't want me to get him confused with him. 10 tackles won for Neco Williams on Friday night.
Yep.
You are only 15 months late, Neco. That's for those of us who owned him in September of the 22-23 season.
We all started with him, didn't we?
Bournemouth Luton.
The enabler of choice, Nico Williams.
There's a few obviously would have gambled Solanke.
Yeah.
At the weekend, I know a few might have gone Neto as well as a goalkeeper.
Still no news what will happen.
Solution.
But likelihood is it will be scrapped, right?
I would think so. Yeah, that it's unfortunate for those who've gone in, but I think look, if the result isn't going to stand, then the points aren't going to stand. Would generally be my take.
Yeah.
And I know Luke, who guessed it on the 3-for-1, said he's obviously got contacts within Sky, and he did think that was the most likely scenario of what would happen.
Time is ticking, though. They need to make a decision soon.
Well, Sky have said they won't make theirs until after Brighton Crystal Palace tomorrow night, because obviously the game week runs Friday to Thursday. So, to be honest, it might just be that tomorrow night...
Well, they've made the decision. They maybe just won't announce it.
It might be that it just updates and the points are gone or the points are there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be what it'll be. Nothing much else to note from that particular fixture. Number of passing tiers for Chelsea players in the Sheffield United fixture. Badiashile 1-2-1, Thiago Silva 1-3-2.
Wow.
Axel Disasai
250 between them. That's plenty.
Axel, that was still quite significantly lower than Ruben Diaz on his own this weekend, though. Actually, no, that's not true. Diaz 100.
That would be
that would be mad, wouldn't it? That's Rodri in the World Cup level.
Freak level.
Disasai played right back, 76, and also tier 1 tackle. Conor Gallagher played a deeper role, 86 passes completed.
That's a lot for him as well.
97. Yeah, he's played in a double pivot role. And I have read this morning as well, I don't suppose many are beyond, but he would have been popular at the start of the season. Enzo Fernandez might be carrying a problem. Something to be aware of. Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson in the shots here and the goals. Levi Colwell, Suj. 45 passes completed only, despite playing the full game at left back.
45.
So it's disappointing when Disasai's got 76, isn't it?
Levi Colwell for me though is I'm happy to get my 2 starting points. I feel like anything I get from him is a bonus.
Set your bar low.
Yeah, I kind of have recently with Levi Colwell, and he's never been my biggest problem to fix. So he's always kind of stuck around. So you know what? If you said to me he's going to get clean sheet points but no tiers, I'll take it. And I know it looks rubbish compared to the others. That 45 passes when you've got people in the 120s and 130s is particularly bad. But because of the last kind of few months and he's been in and out the team, 7 is enough for me, mate.
Okay, on to Manchester City, because it was a surprisingly low passing number in this game as well. As mentioned, Ruben Diaz 174, which is not double Badiashile and Silva, but it's still pretty
ridiculous.
Big. I'm pretty sure that's most in a Premier League game this season, I think.
Wow. Well, the only person that may have come close is Rodri.
I don't think he's been that big.
No.
Nathan Ake 112, Kyle Walker 107, Rodri 90. And 5 tackles won for Rodri as well.
8 points standard.
Josko Gvardiol, 36.
That's the same as Levi Colwell.
Oh, it's less, isn't it?
Well, but I mean the left back position being the victim of
I think what they've done here is Walker's played deeper and he's pushed up into sort of a left wing position, basically. Gvardiol, that's your reason why. I mean, it almost still doesn't make sense though when you see Jack Grealish 57.
Right.
Bernardo Silva also hit tier 162 and a shot tier. Rico Lewis also hit shot tier. Gvardiol's lack of passing numbers probably hidden because he had 3 shots on target, which included a 1-on-1 when he ran over the top in the first half. Your man Dean Henderson, 7 saves. Shout out to Tyreek Mitchell completing 8 passes with his 90 minutes completed. 8, yes. Newcastle, Fulham, 7 saves for Bernd Leno. There were tackles for Paulinho, obviously, and Tosin Adarabioyo. Dubravka with a save tier, quite handy, despite the fact Fulham played the majority of the game with 10 men. Dan Burn, goal, shot tier. I suppose he's another one like Michael Keane. His 2 efforts on goal, that's probably where he's got the shot tier, because the first effort's saved. Yep. Squeaks into passes, 64.
Same attack.
Jamal Lascelles, who I think probably will be good for this weekend. Tier 2, 87 passes completed. I would say if you're an owner of Lascelles, you should be all right for the weekend. After that, I think it'll be doubtful, but you'd probably just stick with it. Bruno Guimaraes, 106. Miguel Almiron, 65. We wanted to be critical of Tyreek Mitchell's 8 passes completed. What about Callum Wilson playing 90 minutes and only completing 5?
How many touches of the ball? We don't know.
More than that.
5
interestingly,
passes,
obviously,
Paul.
Trips didn't play. I think it's fair to assume he probably would have hit tier 2 passing. Tino Livramento played 84 minutes, started at right back, moved to left back early on after Fabian Schär went off injured. 59. Emil Kraft came on after 14 minutes, played right back. He completed 59. He also won 3 tackles, so there could well have been a haul there for Trips had he played. Jordan Bayer, in tier 2 passing during the defeat to Everton, so to Dara Shada in the 80s. Michael Keane, 2 shots on target, the only tier for any Everton players. William Saliba, 64 passes completed for Arsenal against Brighton. Again, significantly more than Gabriel Magalhaes, 42. Gabriel Jesus with a shot tier. 95 passes completed for Lewis Dunk, despite playing Arsenal away. Jan-Paul Van Eyck.
And being dominated as well.
Also in 79. Billy Gilmore scraped into tier 1 with 60. Pascal Gross did not. Obviously popular this week, including bought by myself. Yeah, but not a mile off, Suj. He had probably Brighton's best effort of the game when he shot wide at the near post in the second half. He also completed 54 passes and won 3 tackles. So if he's close to that away to Arsenal, you know what the capability of the player is.
Yeah, I was surprised how low Arsenal's tier points were, considering how dominant they were in the game.
From the Brentford-Aston Villa game, which I can't remember talking about earlier, makes me think we just missed it off. 5 Brentford players won tackle tiers. Godos, Norgard, Damsgaard, Visser and Lewis Potter. Also Boubacar Kamara for Aston Villa, who is suspended, obviously now. I presume that's a 3-game ban until after Overhaul. Ezri Konsa,
would he be going away as well, Boubacar Kamara? He would, wouldn't he?
French.
Okay, so then no.
Pretty sure. You got me questioning that now, but I'm pretty sure he is French.
I will check that, James.
Pretty sure he is.
He is French.
Yeah. Ezri Konsa, tier 2 passing. Played right back, but they pushed Moreno pretty high, so he was kind of playing right-sided centre-back, which meant Carlos was the deepest. They had enough of the ball that only he got 51. Pau Torres, 63, is a doubt for Villa's game on Friday night with Sheffield United. For West Ham, Kilman in tier 1 passing and tackles. Same 2 for Gomez. Cunha with a shot here, as there was for Mohamed Kudus, who obviously scored twice. Emerson Palmieri in tackles. Finally, for Manchester United, 8 saves for Andre Onana, 7 tackles for Anthony. Mo Salah, 4 shots on target, made up somewhat for the lack of an attack in return. Van Dijk, tier 1 shots here, and 71 passes.
Van Dijk with a shot tier.
Where's efforts
maybe
from corners?
Headers from corners,
yeah. 71 passes completed just into tier 2. Trent Alexander-Arnold 69 just outside tier 2. Ibrahima Konate comfortably the most with 94.
Van Dijk's ticking along nicely now, up to 95
I think,
points.
To reflect back on the non-selling Haaland, I probably wouldn't have sold Haaland and Alvarez. It was never really on the table for me. I guess the consideration for me would be, if Haaland is definitively ruled out for the next few weeks, let's say, before the weekend, do I go and buy someone for 3 games with probably no captaincy? And is it a Liverpool player? Do I just go, right, Van Dijk or Trent, and go with something like that? I can go 4-5-1. I'd probably be a bit pained that if something had happened to Watkins, then I'm forced into another transfer or no forward. So I probably, Suj, in all honesty, I'm just going to leave things now, I think.
Yeah, try that, and that's the kind of general advice, is leave things as much as possible.
Other than Villa Friday night against Sheffield United, where Watkins is the clear standout, and to be honest, if he wasn't in the team, I would buy someone, by the way. Because I just think, like, even Emi Martinez, I could buy it and it's bang 18 points, for example. That wouldn't be my solution, by the way. It'd probably be a defender rather than a goalkeeper. But other than that, I've got 2 captaincy for at least every day. So I may just be leaving it if I get a problem now. Right.
Let's get in some questions that we've had in on the internet, James. The source of all knowledge and information.
If you say so.
I do not. Stan would like to know, though. The obvious question, I don't know if it is obvious, but how do you think Chelsea line up now that Nkunku is back?
I don't think it's anything to worry about pre-overhaul. It's another body that can obviously participate for Chelsea, but I think you're probably looking at sort of another 20 minutes, 30 minutes on Sunday. Maybe then try and get him 45 or a little bit more on Wednesday, and then hopefully a start against Luton. I think something like that, and even that probably 60, 65. So I think if the question's laced from a perspective of concern for Cole Palmer, I wouldn't have it. That's not to say Palmer will definitely start the 3 games, because the close proximity of him could just be rotation anyway. I think Nkunku will probably play on the left. What they did a lot in pre-season was have Jackson drift out that side and Nkunku come in and vacate the space where he would end up in the number 9 position. And I think that's probably the plan moving forward. But whether we'll see that in the next few weeks, couldn't tell you. Might be one we can sit out at Overhaul and say, should we? But until then, I don't think it's enough of an impact on Palmer or for Nkunku to be looking at it.
Palmer's price in this game is really cheap at 6.5.
Well, Palmer is the best enabler in the game.
He is now, yeah.
And as long as he's fit, he's going to be in the majority of teams post-Overhaul, I would assume.
Yeah, I think...
particularly playing Fulham in what might be the first day. By the way, just on that, I was going to say I should have mentioned it earlier. On the recording that we did that no one will ever hear, because it no longer exists, on the Burnley-Luton game, which is Monday the 15th, it could move to Friday the 12th. If Burnley have an FA Cup replay with Tottenham, it can be played on the Thursday. So it might stay on the Monday night anyway.
Right.
So if you were thinking, I want to see the teams from that one to make your final decision if you wanted one for Overhaul, that might not happen. In which case, it would be Chelsea, would be the first one you'd see against Fulham.
Good. Understood. Right. Next question's coming in from, GG Magpie. Who do you think, James, are your top 3 under-the-radar picks for after Overhaul?
I don't know if there's many under the radar.
I just think we're all going to end up with very similar teams post-Overhaul, just because some of the more popular players are very obvious.
And the spread of, let's say, wanting to cover 6 captaincies right at the start leans into that a little bit more. It means
you can't really blanket that much, can you?
And listen, you can skip Burnley Luton, for example, but I think the other 5 that you won't skip. So I use an example. So Luke was speaking on the 3-for-1 about the idea, he didn't say he would do it, but the idea of looking at, say, like an Arsenal blanket defensively after Overhaul. But when you start thinking about covering Son while he's away and you want Tottenham coverage, you think about Porro and Romero. You start thinking about covering Salah, you start thinking about Trent and Van Dijk. So it might mean that sort of thing's difficult. If Pascal Gross was unavailable, we were all probably going Lewis Dunk against Wolves, for example. So blanket defence might be challenging. Although I do agree with Luke's sentiment, I think Arsenal is worth looking at from that perspective. It might be people like Richarlison, if you want to punt that and leave the money till Sonny's back, for example. Maybe someone like Diogo Jota might be back fit by that point. Leon Bailey could be a rogue name to throw out there if he continues his form and his fitness, which most won't look at because Ollie Watkins, frankly, is the right coverage there, to be honest. He's worth the extra. Maybe someone like Billy Gilmore might get more consistent minutes. As Brighton obviously don't play in Europe till, I mean, it's probably going to be March, isn't it? I think probably mid-March. And obviously don't have Carabao Cup ties. There's that to factor in terms of the teams that's gone through. So, I mean, that's another headache for Chelsea. In terms of the extra games, it maybe makes Newcastle a little bit more interesting, but then they come back from Overhaul with Man City at home and Villa away, so might even be one
the
to come
likes
back
of
to.
you got to be careful of players with AFCON and Asia as well. You can't really punt the likes of a Kudus or something like that because they're going to be gone for a large chunk.
The sensible play in most cases, going to be hold the money for Salah's Son. I think there's more of a case in Son to say you might want to go by that point, well, he's back on the left now, I don't like it. Richarlison's the main forward, and Porro Romero, either one or even both, gives you decent coverage where maybe you might not want to do that. With Salah, though, I think you will want to go back there. It might even be that we're sitting here and going, I'm going to go Kevin De Bruyne for a bit. Like, who knows? Maybe it'll be Nkunku. I'll go Nkunku for a bit. But I don't think there'll be that many under the radar. I don't think I'm going to say anyone here that no one's going to consider or think about over this period.
It's weird. I've been clicking on my team while you've been mentioning some of these players, James. I'll name you 11. Neto in goal, Saliba, Van Dijk, Dunk, Romero, Salah, Bowen, Palmer, Son, Haaland, Watkins. I covered off every major team, maybe bar Newcastle. Got captaincy coverage, and it's spread across 10 teams.
You think you've got captaincy coverage? We obviously haven't got the full February fixture
of course,
list
and that will potentially change. But that's all of these players are hugely affordable, which is why I think we're going to end up with some very, very similar teams. And I think in answer to the question, it's going to be hard to come up with some under-the-radar picks. FPL Commander Pascal Gross to come in for Bowen or Gordon, or totally skip if no Brighton players.
Certainly wouldn't sell Bowen. Imagine you sell Bowen for Gross, and then Gross gets injured before West Ham play Brighton. Yeah, I would not be selling Jared Bowen. The Gordon one is difficult. You don't need him for captaincy, I don't think, unless maybe something happened to Mo Salah, might help you Boxing Day, for example. And I guess it might even be ones like that where you go, if he's your only cover for Salah, you might think, well, I want to keep that, for example. I think you're obviously getting a gain on a Gross with the extra fixture, and it might be more than that if obviously Gordon is out. He does it like it was probably more heavy knock than serious problem last night, sorry. And hopefully by the time Saturday comes around, we'll have a bit more information. Not that Eddie Howe will give it to you. It'll be, we need to assess him. And that's not going to help you before you make the decision on Thursday either. So I think if I only had one West Ham Brighton player, i.e. Jared Bowen, I'd be tempted to do it.
Okay.
Just to give me the secondary. If I was already sitting there with, say, even Dunk on the 4 yellows, I wouldn't bother, I don't think.
Well, you've answered a few questions there about that particular fixture that people have asked, whether or not it's pounding in. Ian Parent, a second keeper question. He says, following on from another keeper question from somebody else that had asked, if you were hamstrung by transfer count, James, so this is after Overhaul, I'm assuming he means less than 25, maybe. Who would you pick as a set and forget keeper? Flecken and Neto are both cheap, and each would likely have an extra fixture. In that 6.6 goalkeeper kind of realm, there's a few there. Areola still sits down there. You got Leno 6'8", Neto 6'6", Sanchez 6'6", Areola 6'6". Henderson and Trafford I wouldn't feel comfortable particularly going with. Sam Johnson 6'5".
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I love
6'3".
Well, Kaminsky might offer
Bravka 6'3".
Kaminsky might offer captaincy coverage for Burnley and a Bournemouth game if it's rearranged over that period. But then they walk into Brighton, Newcastle, Manchester United, Liverpool, and Villa are 5 of their next 6 after Burnley. Similarly, Flecken's run after their first game against Forest is Tottenham, Man City, Wolves away, Liverpool at home, West Ham away, Chelsea at home, Arsenal away. That's horrible. So an extra fixture against Man City, really. I mean, expectations probably quite low on that. Neto's fixtures aren't great either. Liverpool, West Ham, Fulham away, Newcastle, Manchester City are 5 of Bournemouth's first 6 after Overhaul. Not great. And they're the enabling ones. I get them. They're all good suggestions, but none of them would fill you with much joy. I think if the question's laced for set and forget, it won't help you from captaincy. Particularly, but I think the one might be Emi Martinez.
But he's just that little bit more expensive.
I get that.
It is reliable. Trackstar G wasted so many transfers on injured players this season. I think a lot of people have. He has 27 left with Fabian Schär now injured, and enough to move to any other defender. Is it even worth it at this point to transfer him out for maybe Thiago Silva? We'll need to get Haaland back. So I have 26 transfers, really.
Yeah, possibly. With Silva, I kind of always stressed that I thought he wouldn't play these Wolves, Crystal Palace, Luton games, but this was before factoring in additional injury problems that they've got and the fact that he has had a few breaks himself recently. Doesn't mean that he hasn't been playing too much recently. And as I said to you earlier, Serge, like Wolves away, I imagine he plays, because the next 2 are Palace and Luton, he might be able to stroll through them. Basically, because he'll have so much of the ball in them. So I think if Schär's confirmed out, probably yes. Probably yes. And it's similar for me, like I'm saying, not sure on the Haaland. But if Haaland is confirmed out for the 3 games, I need to give serious consideration to saying, right, do I want to go into like Trent or Van Dijk for these 3 games? Or, I mean, it could be anything, right? I can't go for a midfielder, but do I go for any other forward or any other defender to consider? Yeah, I'll have to think about it.
Chris Galloway, last question. James says, why do I keep making goalkeeper transfers? Maybe a better question is, should we avoid wasting very valuable transfers on the goalkeeper position?
It's like,
I think I know the answer, but goalkeepers can score well in this game.
Exactly.
You know? So particularly when it's an easy captaincy coverage. Like if you don't want to waste the slot on an outfield player, it just becomes quite convenient and easy.
They're great coverage for the shit single game days. You know, that's why Leno and Sarr in a circumstance like Fulham Wolves are obviously going to get spoken about, for example. I think there's a few might have gone, were thinking of going Sarr as their Sanchez replacement and probably were scrambling about on Sunday afternoon about what they were going to do. But Sanchez is a perfect case, right? You bought him because it was the right transfer. That's what I did. I still think it was. Emphasised by the fact I've just gone and bought his replacement, right? You can't legislate for injuries and stuff like that, right? It is what it is. And it is unusual to have so many problems with goalkeepers like we've had recently. It's very unusual. And a lot of them have been injuries. Yeah,
it is one of those things. Listeners, that's a wrap for this week's episode of Planet SkyFF. We'll be back recording this time next week, as long as we can get technology not to screw up. But we will be recording on the Wednesday 27th in the middle of that match week. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening to the podcast and you'll get notified as soon as that episode goes live. If you're looking for some additional content to have in your ears over this Christmas break, you might want to sign up to Patreon, where from Basic Plus tier in December, you get access to the December back catalogue you'd get access to. And you can listen to some of the additional stuff we've been doing this month. Go and sign up. We've got a Slack community of very engaged Sky managers. You get James's fixture planning spreadsheet, prize leagues, and a bunch of other perks and benefits as well. Patreon.com/Planet FPL.
Good sales pitch, yeah, no, good.
Most importantly now, last time, if you're only a Sky player, you'll hear from us. Enjoy your Christmas break, stay safe, look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Yeah, very true. Happy Crimbo to our Sky players. Have a good week. Cue music, please, Manchild.
Sorted.
How did that end up longer?
Don't know, but it did. Didn't feel longer. But,
no, it didn't actually.
But then we don't know how long...
It didn't feel terrible to re-record.
I don't know how long the original one was because it died. So we think...
I'm absolutely certain it was less than that.